All right, good afternoon, friends. We're going to talk about shared decision making today. All right, so hopefully for our fireside chat, you've brought a couple things: marshmallows, leadership traits. Those can be yours personally. There's no specific list on that. Graham crackers, decision making skills. Hershey's chocolate bar. It has to be Hershey's, or we can't have a s'more. And then, most importantly, your life experiences. All right, this is Pier 6313 Studios. We appreciate you coming. All right, this should look familiar. Obviously, if you're here, you scan the QR code, you got the secret invite to the fireside chat, and this document should look familiar at last week's executive leadership shop. All right, so Decision 101 making, some basics you need to know from that pamphlet. There's a core group of philosophies, tentacles, fingers, whatever you want to call them, and some other areas that we're going to cover. But, specifically for our division, what we are going to do is, obviously, when we talk about decision making, quantitative, qualitative, talk about predicting or making a decision itself, and then, obviously, after that, we're going to analyze that. All right, so in the process of coming to a final decision, again, one of the things we need to look at is shared governance. Is it going to benefit people? And obviously, two critical pieces that a lot of organizations miss is mission alignment and also the vision. All right, so these are the tentacles that I would talk about. Specifically, we have 6 of them. They're on the brochure that you were looking at. We'll go into depth a little bit further with them. All right, so the power of sharing. Employee participation means that shared power exists. It's critical to have employees feel like they have power. That's extremely critical. Almost if they're treated as equals, you'd see productivity, but also increasing competitiveness too. All right. So with that being said, when you have a group of people that are competitive and they work together and share the power, a lot of damage can be done with them as far as completing tasks, missions, and if you're looking at performance type goals and objectives, you can see the efficiencies increase significantly. All right, so as we continue on, talk just a little bit about efficiency. So one of the things with organizational efficiencies is results in a higher quality service, less employee turnover, and better decision making. So if you have people that have a vested interest, the organizational efficiency increases. Also, having transparency is very big. There's a clear path to objectives. It clears any hidden agendas. Right. So then we have selection systems, employee development. There's a variety of selection systems as far as actual decision making steps. You can do, qualitative, holistic, optional, material, heuristic, and then also we have employee development. Growing a culture starts with growing employees. One of the things we always talked about were the growing your own timber within your organization. That really helps to kind of build and facilitate a culture. And so with that being said, today's presentations, do we have any questions? All right, so we got one here in the live chat from Karen Original. Can you give me an example of when you use the tentacles or fingers of shared decision in a controversial situation? It's funny you say that. I was actually going to bring that an answer up for that, so I created a slide for that. How we can plug in all of these tentacles. So I give us the example of the Finger Lakes Youth Apprenticeship. Finger Lakes Youth Apprenticeship is a high school program that looks specifically at career and technical education programs, grades 11 through 12, but also does target some populations in 9th and 10th grade. With that being said, this youth apprenticeship program is actually run by 2 organizations or supported by 2 organizations. So one of the examples I will give from the very start of this particular program, I worked with a gentleman named Bob. I represented Monroe Community College. He represented our TMA. We were going after a grant, and the grant, was going to fund a full-time position for, 2 years. And then, when we came to the table, our vice president, from Monroe Community College just said, hey, we want the position. This is the way it's going to work. but the grant was a collaborative grant that we had to work together. When I walked into the room, and I told Bob, I said, our vice president wants the position. An argument occurred from that particular point, and needless to say, we worked it out through open dialogue, going back to kind of the pillars of what the Finger Lakes Youth Apprenticeship stands on. It's a standalone mission supported and backed by the RTMA, which is the Rochester Technology Manufacturing Association, and Monroe Community Colleges. So with that being said, long story short, we did not get the grant, but it was a great learning experience for Bob and myself and the folks at the RTMA and people at MCC. So I go to the power of sharing. With that being said, we did not get the grant, but however, we built a pretty strong vision for this program, and in doing so, we increased our competitiveness. Bob and I pushed each other to really make the overall mission work for the betterment of people in the region, to make it more efficient. We really looked at strategically how we were going to market it, how we were going to launch the campaign and link young men and women with career opportunities right here in the Rochester region, and that would be through a formal job shadow and a formal co-op, a paid co-op. So that was the gist of the program. We would have a matching day, an interview day, and then a signing day where companies would select from a handful of talented young men and women that were interested in careers in advanced manufacturing and had various skills, and then we would sign them as if they were getting signed like an NFL draft. So that was really cool. Transparency. From the very start, we wanted this to kind of be a standalone program by itself, the Finger Lakes Youth Apprenticeship. So you see the branding, the logo. With that being said, it was backed by RTMA and MCC, and this is probably about 5 years ago. So now it's standing alone by itself, still backed by both partners, but it really has that brand strength and that identity. So again, we kind of met that goal. And then as far as employee development, as the company has grown, or the program has grown bigger, we have a youth apprenticeship coordinator. And that person is part of the culture. We've hired a new workforce director in development over at the RTMA. So we have people that are growing with the program, which is really nice, and the program itself is building. First year we started out at 74, and now those guys are have taken over the program, and they're doing awesome. I think they're up to like 270, 280 students in high school that are engaged with careers and opportunity. So that would be the example that I give you, Karen. Hopefully that answers your question on how to use these tentacles in a particular situation. And there are my references, and this concludes assignment 6.